Hi friends, it's been a good long time since I offered up a live video. So here we go. Somebody mentioned enjoying the live videos, and I knew I'd been avoiding it. I went back and looked in my uploads, and it's been since November. And December's well on its way, 12/12. Others have felt something special today. I'm not in a tailspin. It's not that things are bad for me. Things are not steady. And so I don't know from nothing. From one day to the next, sometimes 1 hour to the next. I'm up, I'm down, I'm all over the place, you know. I'm watching mind be more active. And wondering about that, I went for a good long while without much of that. It is what it is. No sense fighting it. It doesn't do any good. You can't fight mind. Well, I mean, you can fight anything you want to fight, but you can't fight mind and be successful. You're fighting yourself. So, mind is the maker and creator of 3D. And it's delightful to live in a day and age where we have the science to illustrate the emptiness of the atom and so many things. Mysteries are coming up, and so the scientists have to invent forces, things like dark matter. Even gravity. I mean, we don't know what temperature is. We don't know what gravity is either. I mean, just because we can measure the effect of something does not mean we know what it is. I read somewhere from a source I have some trust in that gravity is actually created in some way, caused by the sun, or its radiation, its energy. I don't know. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm saying I'm open though. I'll just share with you one of the things that's been bugging me. Is feeling dumb. Ignorant, stupid, not knowing. Knowing that I have a pretty good brain, but not really having the use of it, because when you step out of mind, you turn your back on that. It's not that it's not there, and it comes through when it needs to, but overall, it's like with these journals, as soon as they come through, they're forgotten. I have to go back and watch again myself sometimes when people will comment, and I don't remember having said any of it, and I have to go back and listen to see what they mean, what they're referring to. So there's the whole thing of the emptiness and making peace with it and just letting it be okay. What I'm noticing is an impatience for things to move along. I think what I've discovered is that there was a hidden expectation that if I would just go with the flow and let go, that this would help things move along, and that one of the things that would happen is that the higher mind would come online. And expectations, I just don't think they're good. I really don't. They just get in our way. And they cloud what we see and what we can't. An expectation is sort of a belief. It's a variety of belief. And the mind uses beliefs to craft what the body sees. Now, it's not you seeing through those eyes. This is the body. This is the five sense vision and view of the world that looks so solid and everything. And yet we know from our examination of the atom, of which everything is made, that it's not in the least bit solid. And so we have this delightful dissonance. And hopefully it's enough to pry some of us open. I think you start waking up when you start recognizing that you don't really know anything, or you don't know as much as you thought you did. When you start questioning your beliefs and your thoughts, I think that's a part of waking up. I really do. And it's healthy and beautiful and not the most comfortable thing in the world, but then comfort is overrated, don't you think? I mean, he who sits in comfort has no impetus to move on, huh? It's a good way to enslave people, make them overly comfortable. Of course, the powers that were have chosen another way, but it would be an enslavement to be given too much comfort. And then, as I say, where would be the impetus or anything except being stagnant? So, I've been more emotional of late, too. Up and down. It's easy for me to cry. And it's mostly quite wonderful. You see into the beauty of something, you read or hear someone's story, and it touches your heart with, once upon a time I would have said the goodness of God. Such words don't work for me anymore. The awesomeness of that which is. I don't know, you know. Words are being less and less useful. They're like beliefs. They're restricting. As soon as you name something, you've restricted it. In telling it what it is, you've also assumed what it's not. And everything is so individual and unique. Had we the consciousness to see it and to experience it, I'm sure it gets right down to the very atom. The individuality of the atom. As above, so below, and vice versa. It's also supremely awesome, and somehow we get stuck with the body's perceptions and the mind's thoughts around things. And the worst thing the mind can do is think it knows something, because that just closes all the other doors, you know? And it says, I know. That's me. I mean, you be you, okay? You be different. There's a brilliance that awaits us. But you know, I think maybe I'll just quit pondering it, because of how things are for me right now, and just take the next step to letting that go, to dropping that expectation. A real pal of mine, as far as a process or a procedure, is to imagine the worst case scenario with anything like this. The worst case scenario for this would be that I would never be smart again, I would never feel competent, and I would be all heart and no brain. Okay, if that's what's got to be, that's okay too. I'm not separate. I'm an aspect of the wholeness, and no aspect of the wholeness is complete. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's a hologram here of a sort, and so you can see the whole picture in any piece of it if you cut it up. And so I suppose you could see all of cosmos in an atom if you were sufficiently empty. And your vision was sufficiently pure. Attitude plays a big part. Overall, I think I have some pretty good attitudes. I do try to watch. Sometimes you're just going to feel bad. Sometimes you're just going to be upset or whatever it is, out of sorts. And that doesn't make you bad or incomplete or wrong. All of that is part of duality. And we thought we were dual. We thought we were this 3D thing. For a long time, the powers that were, all the programming and arranging of things the way they are, had us convinced that we were dual. We were separate. Things were separate. But I think once you've been given the vision, even once, of how you contain the poles, of how you're multidimensional from heart, not from head, and it changes you. It changes you. And it might take a while for the old beliefs, the old castle walls to crumble and be swept away. But as long as you're willing for that to go on, it will. It's so strange. I mean, we're in control so much, and yet the superficial reality looks like we're not. We're creating this, and yet it looks like we're subject to it instead. Everything's backwards and upside down here in 3D. It's a pretty amazing realm to occupy. And I'm not one of those that's in so much of a hurry to depart, to leave it. That's to judge it as if it was bad, which it isn't. It's what we make it. If it's bad, then we're bad. It's not, and we're not. So to those who are in such a hurry, look underneath your hurry there and see what's motivating it. See what kind of beliefs are in effect. See if you have any that looks down on 3D. 3D everywhere isn't like 3D here. I think 3D Earth is about as tough as it gets. But there are other spaces and places and planets and galaxies and universes where 3D's in existence, and it wasn't taken over like this was and turned into what this was. It can be perfectly pleasant. So even though we were programmed and tricked into a lot of things, that's the superficial reality. Underneath that, I think we have to begin to look more and more to being the creators of this. And it's a really good thing to do because it takes your power back, and you don't have to feel subject to, overpowered by, mastered by. You can revamp your vision of who and what you are. You have a heart. We all do. I mean, we're in really good shape. It's the powers that were dudes and gals that, I mean, they have a heart too, but they've thoroughly lost it. All we lost was our memory. They lost not their soul, but their connection to it. And, you know, don't mourn for them or anything. But I don't care how things are going. I'm happier now than I've been throughout my life. Even if I had to be dumb forever. I mean, it's okay. It just is what it is, and anything you fight, you just prolong. So you don't want to quit fighting it because you want to get rid of it. That doesn't work either, because you're dealing with the expectations. It takes a real surrender, a real letting go. I think a lot of our letting go is being done for us simply by what I'm calling the rise in frequency. Not quite sure how else to express it. And so we find the personal will dropping away. And that's pretty darn cool. We find ourselves detaching from things that were real wants and desires that somehow we went to sleep one night and we woke up the next day and they morphed into preferences, things that we really don't care all that much about. It's okay if we have it, it's okay if we don't. Let's look at the love of money. Money's something people love to love and love to hate. One thing about the powers that were, they do not know how to spell enough. There's no such thing as enough in their vocabulary. I read somewhere, and I don't know how anybody could know this, honestly, so maybe it's garbage, but I read somewhere that Queen Mum had 400 trillion tucked away, and I'm thinking, what use has any embodied being for more than $1 trillion? $1 trillion is unimaginable. It really is. If you go do the math and you just look at the difference between 1 million and 1 billion, you'll be stunned. Put it in terms of seconds. 1 million seconds. Translate that out, and then 1 billion seconds, and it'll floor you. And so then when you go from the billion to the trillion, it's unimaginable. It really is. It's just beyond anything. And you wonder why they think they need that, and the unhappiness of not knowing what enough is. My daughter was really taken by a saying, and it might have been from Lao Tzu, I don't know, but it went something to the effect, I got it for her on a scroll that she hung on her wall. He is rich who has enough. Or no, he is rich who is content with what he has. Well, in a way, I'm talking about making peace with this thing where I can't claim wisdom, my friends. I'd love to be able to. I admire it. I look up to it quite a lot. I can't claim it. I do stupid things, you know? I have a tendency to simply love everyone and everything. And be open to it all. It's like with your comments. You can criticize me and I'll be perfectly open to consider what you're saying. I won't be offended. Well, that's all well and good. But it's not so very wise all the time. And I wouldn't mind a little wisdom in there. But that's the reality. And so when you make peace with that, when you do the worst case scenario and say, okay, if for the rest of all eternity I was stuck like this, could I live with that? You're going to find that you can. It's in there. And once you've done that, you realize you have enough. I like to watch Adyashanti. I have a dear friend across the pond who sends me a reminder each week on the evening when he gives his, it's a radio address, but if you tune in, there's a video stream that's there that you can watch too. And a lot of times he builds his talk from emails and then the phone calls and the questions. And I watch and I watch and I watch for a question to arise. I'd like to have a question. I'd love to send the guy an email. There's nothing. It's empty. There's just nothing. I can't explain it. And it's okay too. It's just strange. That's all. You know, I think no matter what we thought waking up was going to be like, we might as well just ditch and dump every idea that we have or had around it. Because it's just strange. And what happens for me, you can't expect that to happen for you. You're special. And so somehow it's always distinct. There are common threads, but we manifest them in different ways. It is comforting, though, to have at least one teacher speaking out on not just awakening, but after awakening. What do you do? You know, I don't know who else speaks about that. So I think it's really nice. I don't know about you, but I like the raw material. I haven't read it all. What I've been exposed to, what I've read of it, I have truly appreciated. And I think it's one of the finest examples of channeling on the face of the planet. There's tremendous integrity and effort put into making it pure. I think they did a great job, and they had a lot of opposition to it, and that's a sign that you've got something that somebody doesn't want said. That's a good sign. So I recently found somebody who made it a life study, Scott Mandelker. I'll try to remember to put a link in for you. I'm going back through and listening to his discourses or talks. He does extensive quoting from the raw material. He's interpreting it. He's pulling it together. And Ra was supposedly a group consciousness, rather like Abraham Hicks is not one being. And is on 6D, which they asked a lot of good questions and got a lot of good answers to things. It's never enough, you know. It's never going to be enough to satisfy the mind. But we've got to learn that the mind just isn't everything. And what it is a hindrance to awakening. If you can't get out of your head and go within, I don't care if you call it heart or fart. I mean, it doesn't matter what words we use. It's a matter of getting out of the mind and going deep inside. Call it the now. Same thing. As soon as you do it, you access your multidimensionality. You step out of time, you step out of space. That's why I call it the kingdom of heart. It's a realm that we carry around with us. And it's a great connection with your intuition and your higher self and beings that we can't see that are here to assist us. We don't need to be talking to any kind of beings, by the way. It's really not necessary. I had kind of given it up when Ken, the healer I work with, told me that I had these beings working with me, and so of course, you know, I got back into it. But it's not necessary. They're with us whether we know it or not. We don't need to know. And it's an easy way to get tricked into getting off into the mind. So just navigate your own path, I guess. You've got guidance every bit as good as anybody else on the face of the earth. We all do. But as long as we're locked into the head, especially the left brain. Now, if you're in the right brain, it's different. But we've all been trained and schooled to exist fully and thoroughly in left brain at all times. We've got the little hamster wheeling going on there, you know? As long as you're there, you're not linking up, you're not hearing your inner voice, your intuition, your inner tuition, your inner teaching. It's there, but it's one of those kind of things, you know, you can have something there all your life. It's like if you're in a prison and all the days of your life you're in this prison cell and you can't get out and so on, and then one day, you know, you're old and gray and you find in your breast pocket the key to the door. Well, it was there all your life, but how much good did it do you? Until we see something, we cannot take advantage of it. And so seeing is critically important, and I'm not talking about with your 3D eyes. They're reporting lies. If I had to say what's really out there, my guess is that it looks very much like a hologram before you shine the lasers on it and reveal the picture that's in it. It's fingerprinty, smeary, wavy things. Is most likely what's there. What's really there. Holograms are neat, huh? They make it easy to create. As long as we believe things are solid, we get in our own way because of that belief. We can replace that belief with our knowledge that the atom is empty. If the atom is empty and things are made of atoms, therefore things are empty. Regardless of what our senses, our 5 senses report. I think David Icke calls it the 5-cent reality. 5 cents reality. And some people think it's 5 cents as in a nickel, 5 pennies. But it's the 5 senses. And they report the best that they can, but have a look, would you please, at the electromagnetic spectrum. And what a tiny slice of it the eyes can peer into. And yet there are all those other waves, rays, radiations, whatever we want to call it, unseen. Wherever you sit, stand, or walk, you've got all kinds of beams and rays and things going through you, all the radio stations, the TV stations, the microwave things, the towers, the cell phones, the satellites, you know, the snooping and spying that's done. It's everywhere. And the senses don't report it. Don't rely on your senses is the message. You are so much more. And you can perceive these things. Maybe your avatar can't, but you can, your avatar being your body mind. You have other senses. First of all, our chakras are waking up and being activated and so on. But we have more than 7. Let's just say we have 12. 12 is a good number. So many things come in 12s. I'm guessing we probably have 12 major chakras. That's one of the things I'm going to ask Ken when he calls this time. I know that the 8th chakra above my head is open because I'm getting all kinds of stuff come in through it. And I'm going to ask him, hey, what about number 9? What do you see? So know that you're unlimited. We are. And we're multidimensional, and we're deeply, deeply amazing. All of us, every one of us. There's no one that you can see doing anything, saying anything that's any better than you are in any way, shape, or form. Said one atom to the atom next to him, you know? All the atoms in the body, which one is the best? Hello. It doesn't even make sense, don't you see? It really doesn't. From the next dimension, layer, level, density, whatever it is, from the next level up, a lot of things that seem to make really good sense now are just dumb. Really dumb. Well, that's okay if we're open. If we're good at letting things go and self-observing, it doesn't matter what we encounter. We'll be fine. It won't upset us. It won't tear us up. We'll be fine. So I suggest emptiness. As much as you can. I know you're walking around with it, not in it. It's in you. Your body mind, but as much as you can, don't think that it's you. Disidentify from that. Identify with your inner beingness or your higher self or whatever, whatever way you want to view it. Because that's a whole lot closer to who you really are. And it's identifying with the body and with the mind that gets us into every scrape that we've ever been in. And you can go back and look through your life and you'll see all of our fears and all of it. It's originates in the body mind. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that life is so much easier from the next level up. Having a flexible perspective is really awesome. Being able to shift that perspective. I used to all the time, like, put myself in what is it when you have a near-death experience? The life review. And I'd look at what was going on in my life from that perspective. If I was having my life review right now, and I went through this situation and handled it this way, how would that look from there? And it can help. Any way that you choose to flex your perspective can really help. If you've got somebody just really bugging you and giving you a really hard time, and it's maybe somebody you care about, try looking at everything from their angle. You can, because you're them just as much as you're you. The you that you are is everybody and everything. It's me too. And so this is doable. Don't do it from the mind. Do it from the heart or the inner perspective. And if you were them, sweetie, you would be doing just what they're doing. That's the thing. We can cut everybody loads of slack. We wouldn't do any better. if we were put in some of these positions of awesome power, given charge over extreme wealth, don't think that you would do such a hot job. Or you're liable to wind up there and find out just how problematic it can be. We all have a dark side. And this is where I part with the Only Light group, that they just don't want to acknowledge that anything is in any way, shape, or form dark. And that's fine. That's their walk. That was my walk for a lot of years. And it has its own really good points. And people that walk that walk do a tremendous amount of good in the world. But the way I see it right now, it's the perspective is too naive. Because there are crooks and criminals in the world, and only light and only love isn't going to protect you from them. I don't know. How have I done, huh? It's been a long time. Oh my goodness, 30-some minutes. I guess I better quit. I don't know what kind of a background you'll see in this. I have a lovely purple cloth for a background. This way I'm not so washed out, huh? But I've also discovered it's something you can use, and with one click you can, Chroma-Lux, I guess it's called, you can add a video or a picture and make it be as if you were there. And so, you know, whether it's just the lovely purple or whether I replace it with something, that's what's going on there. I'm learning and growing. I'll be 60 this month. No, I won't. See, look, I slipped and I said it like that. The body will turn 60 this month. Isn't that something? The little ways we tie ourselves up, because every time you say I, and you mean the body, mind, you're kind of cutting yourself off. And it's just good to be watchful. Sound is very, very powerful. So let's all become more alert and aware of our use of the language. Namaste. And they cloud what we see and what we can't. An expectation is sort of a belief. It's a variety of belief. And the mind uses beliefs to craft what the body sees. Now, it's not you seeing through those eyes. This is the body. This is the five sense vision and view of the world that looks so solid and everything. And yet we know from our examination of the atom, of which everything is made, that it's not in the least bit solid. And so we have this delightful dissonance. And hopefully it's enough to pry some of us open. I think you start waking up when you start recognizing that you don't really know anything, or you don't know as much as you thought you did. When you start questioning your beliefs and your thoughts, I think that's a part of waking up. I really do. And it's healthy and beautiful and not the most comfortable thing in the world. Hi friends. It's been a good long time since I offered up a live video. So here we go. Somebody mentioned enjoying the live videos, and I knew I'd been avoiding it. I went back and looked in my uploads, and it's been since November. And December's well on its way, 12/12. Um, Others have felt something special today. I'm not in a tailspin. It's not that things are bad for me. Things are not steady. And so I don't know from nothing. From one day to the next, sometimes 1 hour to the next. I'm up, I'm down, I'm all over the place, you know? As soon as they come through, they're forgotten. I have to go back and watch again myself. Sometimes when people will comment and I don't remember having said any of it, and I have to go back and listen to see what they mean, what they're referring to. So there's the whole thing of the emptiness and making peace with it and just letting it be okay. What I'm noticing is an impatience for things to move along. I think what I've discovered is that there was a hidden expectation that if I would just go with the flow and let go, that this would help things move along, and that one of the things that would happen is that the higher mind would come online. And expectations, I just don't think they're good. I really don't. They just get in our way. We don't know what gravity is either. I mean, just because we can measure the effect of something does not mean we know what it is. I read somewhere from a source I have some trust in that gravity is actually created in some way, caused by the sun, or its radiation, its energy. I don't know. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm saying I'm open though. I'll just share with you one of the things that's been bugging me is feeling dumb. Ignorant, stupid, not knowing. Knowing that I have a pretty good brain, but not really having the use of it, because when you step out of mind, you turn your back on that. It's not that it's not there, and it comes through when it needs to, but overall, it's like with these journals, as I'm watching mind be more active. And wondering about that, I went for a good long while without much of that. It is what it is. No sense fighting it. It doesn't do any good. You can't fight mind. Well, I mean, you can fight anything you want to fight, but you can't fight mind and be successful. You're fighting yourself. So, mind is the maker and creator of 3D. And it's delightful to live in a day and age where we have the science to illustrate the emptiness of the atom and so many things. Mysteries are coming up, and so the scientists have to invent forces, things like dark matter, even gravity. I mean, we don't know what temperature is.